Well, daft as it sounds, of course, an awful lot of the success that clubs have experienced in our division over the last couple of seasons have been actually at the hands of those youth team managers. You think of Rob Edwards at Forest Green, you think at Exeter, you think of Mark Bonner at Cambridge. It's coaches that have come in that I don't know whether there's been another generational mindset change with regards to managing players, and you need somebody of the age group or different ideas, or somebody just taking it forward. It seems to have been a successful approach, just in terms of, is it a negative or not? As regards to the development model, well, most recent accounts obviously demonstrated that the club isn't making a profit. Also, the statements from the owners as regards the need for them to invest or introduce personal funds over the course of the season to meet the shortfall and to ensure wages are paid demonstrates that the development model is probably the route that we're required to go down. As regards competing at the top end, well, we look at teams potentially coming up, and we know that Wrexham and Notts County will likely continue to have generous budgets. We're told that the managers of Doncaster and Gillingham will be provided with enhanced and increased playing budgets, and there may well, of course, be one or two of the larger clubs with those bigger budgets already this season, the likes of Salfords, your Bradfords, and whomsoever. Even Colchester introduced additional monies at the end of the season. So whilst traditionally lots of fans have focused on that top third budget, I think just by virtue of the competition out there, we'd struggle to make it. Now, we know historically that when those monies are introduced into the division, that usually means that for several players, the wages actually increase, so expectations go up. And as a result of that, you get less bangs for your buck. So you've got to balance the squad with developmental players. So my view is that it's an economic necessity rather than some sort of divine inspiration to follow the development model. And we won't be the only team doing that next season, I wouldn't imagine. Just the economics of football will dictate that. So, yep, I think it will continue. The type of manager mindset, well, you look at those teams that we've mentioned previously, that your Forest Greens, your Exeters, to a certain extent, Fleetwood made an awful lot of money in recent years before Scott Brown went there with the sale of players. And then you go to Dave Artell at Chester and the likes of it. So I think there are quite a few clubs out there who have certainly worked towards that model, and they'll doubtless have coaches that we'll be unaware of who've worked under the managers there and will be looking to spread their wings. You know, last season, Anthony Barry was mentioned in dispatches or a while ago as a potential manager, and everybody said, who's he? And you look at where he's got to now, and realistically, if he'd been brought in, it would have been an inspired selection by the chairman. I think the chairman was quite keen on him, but for circumstances, given the choice between Chelsea and us, goodness knows why, but he chose Chelsea, and presumably an extra couple of noughts on his salary, at least one. So there are candidates out there. It's just who's aware of them.
I just want to play devil's advocate and counter your point about the youth, like under 23 or younger coaches coming through and being successful. And I give you, obviously, Matt Taylor did well at Exeter, and I obviously give you the guy at Forest Green, Rob Edwards, who's obviously now doing very well at Luton. But if I look at the current top 7 in League Two, well, Richie Wellens is a well-experienced manager at Leyton Orient. Obviously, Northampton have got John Brady, who's been around the block a little bit. Stockport have got Challoner, who's worked his way up the levels, but has been around for maybe 10 years as a manager now. Paul Simpson is at Carlisle. You've got Steve Evans at Stevenage. You've got Mark Hughes at Bradford. I mean, you have to go all the way down, really, to Salford for someone who's could be said to have appointed one of those young coaches and is having some kind of success. So I don't think we should just be cutting our nose off to spite our face and say, well, it's got to be an under 23 coach who's been successful. Look at all the other successful coaches who are around the division who are are very experienced and have been there and done it before. Richie Wellens has won promotion from this division before. I'm pretty sure Paul Simpson's done it with Carlisle. Obviously, Challoner's got backing at Stockport, but he's won promotions at every club literally he's been at: Fylde, Colwyn Bay, Stockport and Hartlepool. Brady got Northampton to the playoffs last year and they were within one goal of being in the automatic promotion spot. Steve Evans has done it before. Mark Hughes has obviously been at a much higher level than Bradford, but has had to come back down to get his chance. And then obviously you've got the likes of Nigel Clough at Mansfield, who've been around the block and done it before. So, you know, there isn't a one fits kind of person here. We've got to be very open-minded as to who the right candidate is. We can't just go, it's got to be that kind of person.
Oh, no, very valid comments, Matt, without a shadow of a doubt. But have any of those people that you've mentioned, and indeed, it's also devil's advocate, you look at the top end, I don't think any of the top end, those top 7, are predominantly working on a development model. Quite a few of them are experienced, large budgets, and paying transfer fees.